Hi guys, hello. Today we're going to be doing the end of year book tag. I don't know if that's the actual name of this tag, and it is different than other end of the year book tags that I've done in the past. Ones that I have done personally have been more so just kind of like you do it at the end of the year to kind of talk about all the books you've read in that year, which I still am going to do just at the end of December. This tag in particular is more of kind of my plans, my reading plans for the rest of the year, which we only have like a month left. So the pile of books in front of me, aka like the answers to these questions, are definitely a little optimistic. Especially because I do also have like a 10 before the end that I want to finish, which I've only, I think, read 2 books from so far. Also, by the way, this is not an original idea of mine. I got this idea from Cassidy, and she actually credited in her video the creator of the tag, and I don't remember who it was, but I will have both of the videos linked in the description. So without further ado, let's get started with my end of year reading plans. The first question is, are there any books you started this year that you need to finish? And the only one, honestly, that popped in my head basically immediately was All of Our Demise. I have had a long history with this series. It's literally only a duology, but it has taken me, I think, 3 years at this point to finish it. The other 3 are also more series that I want to continue with or like finish. First of which is the Cowboy Colony series by Ursa Dax. I've talked about this series so many times. It's like a sci-fi alien romance series. They are so good. And I've been reading the series basically this entire year. I read the first few that was like already out in the beginning of the year / like end of last year, I think. And basically this entire year, every time a new one comes out, I read it immediately. And if I'm not mistaken, the next one is either coming out today or tomorrow. What is today? Today's the 24th, I believe. Yes, the 24th. And it comes out, I'm pretty sure, the 25th. So I will be reading that tomorrow. But then also I do have a couple of series physically that I own that I really need to get through that have just been sitting on my shelves for a long time / I started a while ago. So I just need to hurry up and finish it before we have more of this where I forget everything that's going on. And the first of 2 is the Plated Prisoner series. I bought this series years ago, like when I first started this channel, so almost 3 years ago. And I read through the first 3 or 4 books earlier this year. I really loved it, but I haven't continued just because I was waiting for the very last book. And unfortunately it did release, but the cover / like the spine is totally different than the rest of the series. So I kind of waited for nothing because I don't think I want to buy it. But bottom line, I need to finish the series, and I do really want to. Like this one I feel like is more realistic for me to actually finish in December. That being said, the last series that I have for this first question is the rest of, what is this called? The Covenant series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is actually another series that I did really enjoy. I read the first 3 books, there's 5 total. I got distracted, I think, by a new release. So I was like, let me just read this one book and then I'll get back to the series. Never got back to it. I really need to read these before I totally forget what's going on. I'm sure once I get into the 4th one, I am going to be a little lost, but I'm hoping that I remember enough so that I don't have to actually like reread anything, because I am not, I've said this so many times, but I'm not someone that likes to reread books just because there's so many books out there that I want to read. I feel like rereading one that I've already read is like a waste of time. Not to say there's anything wrong with rereading books. I can definitely see the appeal to it, but I just feel like personally, I don't have enough time for that. That being said, out of all of the books in front of me / my 10 before the end, this is at the bottom of the pile. I'm not really in a rush. Like I am in a way, but then I'm also not. So I pretty much know I'm not going to read these before the end of the year, but I still wanted to mention them because I feel like, or I would like to have these be kind of like some of the first books that I read going into next year. So there's that. And that is the end of the first question. I have a real knack for being like the most long-winded when it comes to these like tag videos. Question 2, do you have a book to transition into cooler weather / the end of the year? I definitely have a couple of options for this. So the very first one, I really want to read 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater. I read Half a Soul not last Christmas, actually 2 Christmases ago. So I kind of want the other 2 books in the series to be also kind of like winter Christmassy reads, even though I don't think that they take place necessarily even in winter. Regency maid Effie has acquired a fairy godfather. Unfortunately, he has no idea what he's doing. That sounds so cute. Actually, I don't think I've ever read that. This one, it says, is a whimsical fairy tale set in a magical version of Regency England with an enchanted Cinderella twist. And that, again, just sounds perfect for Christmas, for winter. So definitely this book, but then also like an actual Christmas read. I really want to read Good Spirits by B.K. Borison. Christmas Carol is one of my favorite Christmas movies, and that one is kind of like a Christmas Carol reimagining, retelling type of situation. From my understanding, it's basically a romance between the ghost of Christmas past, I think it was, and the person that he's haunting. So That just sounds so cute, and I cannot wait to read it. The last one that I have for this question is Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands. This is the second book in Emily Wilde's series, and this one is also very similar to 10,000 Stitches, where I read the first book in this series, I think 3 Christmases ago, and that one actually did take place in winter, so it was a little bit more appropriate. Because they're cozy fantasies, it was just a really good vibe for December. So I kind of want to continue the series in the winter as well, although I do think this one actually takes place in spring. Next question is there a new release you're still waiting for / need to get to? Of course, I have several. First one on the list is Brimstone. I don't know that I'm actually gonna get to it before the end of the year, realistically, specifically because I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do about the purchasing of that series. If you don't know, Brimstone is the follow-up to Quicksilver, which I do have the paperback like indie edition, and I absolutely love the cover of that book. I am so upset that the author got like bullied into literally making the most boring covers ever. Although I will say, I feel like I saw the cover in person and I want to say it had sprayed edges and stuff. So it did look cooler than I originally thought. Maybe I could just take the dust jacket off. Because also too, I don't really like to have 2 of the same book just because like financially I can't really afford to do that. But I also hate to have like a mismatched set. So I feel like if I get Brimstone, like the new edition of Brimstone, I have to get the new edition of Quicksilver as well so they match. Let me know what you did. So maybe I can kind of like figure out what I'm gonna do. I don't know. And then the other one is Holly by Adeline Grace. This is what I call like a Christmas episode for a series. Basically, you're taking all the characters from the original series and the book is them kind of like celebrating Christmas. So it's a Christmas episode. My only issue is I do have to order it from the UK because all my other covers in that series are the UK editions, which are, in my opinion, so much cuter than the US ones. So I definitely need to order that ASAP, along with another set of books that I'm very excited for, which you'll see in December for Bookmas. I'm gonna be doing like my last haul of the year. I've been kind of like collecting books for the last couple of months, so I'm very excited to finally be able to show them to you. Moving on to the next question. Next one is, what are 3 books you want to read before the end of the year? And I have basically picked 3 books from my 10 before the end list. The first one being Servant of Earth. This one is a fantasy with trials in it, and someone that I recently found and started following just raves and raves and raves about this book. So I'm very, very excited about it. And then we also have Direbound by Sable Sorensen. I've talked about this book so many times recently. I cannot wait to read this. And then last but not least, we're getting another little sneak peek to my book haul for December, but I also really want to read Immortal Consequences. This one also has trials, I believe. I could be making that up, actually. It does have an academy setting, which I love. It is fantasy, and I'm not actually saying anything about trials. I think I totally made that up. Blackwood Academy, located on the fringes of the afterlife. I absolutely love any kind of book that has anything to do with like the afterlife / Hades, that kind of thing, like fantasy wise, not afterlife as in like sad contemporary books. I don't want that. But like fantasy that takes place in an underworld setting, I absolutely love that. And this one is kind of like an academy that's on the, again, fringes of the afterlife, which sounds very interesting. Very excited for that. Oh, okay, so it does say, once a pupil enters the academy's arched gates, there's no way out, except for the decennial, a once-in-a-decade celebration in which a single worthy student is tested and given a choice: graduate and join the Blackwood's magical elite, or cross over to the mysterious other side. This time, though, the rules have changed. This decennial isn't a celebration, it's a competition, and there can only be one victor. So there is a competition aspect. Second to last question we have, is there a book you think could shock you and become your favorite book of the year? And the one that I chose for this was Beautiful Things by Emily Rath. This one is a Regency era Why Choose, which just sounds like my dream, my dream read. Regency era things, since I watched Bridgerton, have been like my favorite. And just kind of like getting that era plus a Why Choose just sounds so exciting. Also, there's an image of all of our characters in the beginning. I read Pucking Around by this author, which is a hockey Why Choose, and I ended up really, really liking it. I feel like it was a really good, kind of more realistic-ish kind of version of a Why Choose versus like other things that I've read. So yeah, I definitely feel like this has a very high chance of being something that I end up really, really loving. I don't know if it's gonna necessarily like shock me because I'm expecting to love it, but I definitely can see that being something that could be like a favorite of the year. So, and now for our very last question, it says, have you already started making reading plans for next year? What are a couple of them? And I kind of broke this question down into like 3 different parts. And the first little bullet point is kind of like specific books. I guess kind of opening the year, circling back to like other questions, I would like to read this. But then also Zodiac Academy is definitely something I want to read next year at some point. That's a very long series. A lot of the books are very chunky, and I have heard that it's a very bingeable series. So I definitely feel like that's something that I am going to end up spending a good chunk of time on. So that's why I haven't read it yet so far like this year, because I don't want to like spend the rest of my year reading that basically. So I don't know exactly when I'm going to be able to read it next year, but I definitely want to read it. And then I also would like to finish the Boys of Tommen series. I don't know if there's more books being written for that series, but I would definitely like to catch up. I've read the first 4 and they were all really good, like absolutely love them, so I want to continue that series. And then I would also like to binge the rest of the Lightlark series. I think the very last book in that series is coming out in March, and I think it'd be really fun actually to do that on camera, especially because that series just in general has been really fun. It has a very polarizing love triangle involved in it, and one of the releases for that series, like an extra to the series, has been like a flip book in the perspectives of the 2 MMCs, like the 2 love interests for that series, which I think would be really fun to kind of like do with you guys. So I definitely think that's going to be a video for next year, again, once all of the books are out. With that being said, let me know if you would prefer a spoiler version of that video or a non-spoiler version. And yeah, and that's basically it for specific books that I'm kind of like planning on for next year. Next up, I have reading goals, and the last couple of years that I've had this channel, I have had very specific reading goals. Like I want to read a certain amount of this type of book, and I want to read this type of book. I'm not doing that this year. Quite frankly, I have not followed through with basically any of my goals aside from just like my general number goal for the past 2 years. So I don't even want that like hanging over my head going into the next year. Instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna focus mostly on just reading down my physical TBR, and kind of like my general goal is I would like to get my 200 plus physical TBR down to 100 books. I definitely do not think that is realistic to do next year, because just in general, I read about 100 books a year. So technically that is possible, but it's not actually realistic, because obviously a ton of new books are going to come out next year. I'm going to want to read some of those. By the end of 2027, I would like to have my physical TBR at about 100, and I want to kind of keep it that way. It could be less, but like I don't want it to be more. And then the very last little bullet point that I have is for videos. Going into the new year for videos, I definitely want to do a lot more reading vlogs and just kind of more life content in general. This past year, I feel like I've had not like an identity crisis, but like, I don't know, I'm kind of struggling a little bit with kind of like my social media presence, if you will. Like I just don't know, I feel a little lost, I guess. Like there's so many things that I want to show you, like different parts of my life I want to show you, but I feel like I have so very specifically made this channel about books that I need to stay kind of like in that lane, if you will. So what I've ended up doing this past year is creating 2 different accounts on every single platform, and I've basically been treading water all year. Like it is too much. It's just too much. I have 2 TikToks, I have 2 Instagrams, and I did very briefly have 2 YouTubes, all of which are doing okay. But there's definitely like standout accounts for each platform, and I do enjoy creating content for both. So what I'm gonna do, slash again, what I've kind of already started doing, I'm gonna take the account for each platform that has the highest amount of like followers slash subscribers, and I'm just gonna start slowly incorporating the other content into the higher one, if that makes sense. So basically for this channel, I'm gonna start incorporating more lifestyle stuff. And I have already uploaded a few lifestyle shorts and things like that. And those videos are actually doing really well, surprisingly. Like I almost feel like the universe is like, yes, this is what you should be doing. Because it's kind of funny and honestly mildly frustrating, just because I have pined and pined over this decision for the entire year, essentially. But I posted a couple of lifestyle shorts on this channel, and they've actually done better than any of the book ones that I've posted, which doesn't make any sense because again, this channel is very, very niched down. And on the flip side of that, my Instagram and my TikTok, my lifestyle accounts for each of those are definitely doing way, way better. So I've been kind of like slowly putting book content on those ones to kind of incorporate that kind of stuff. I posted a book haul on there, and I got like 27,000 views, way more than any of the other videos that I had posted in the past like month. So again, I feel like it's like the universe being like, yes, just incorporate everything into one. So that is what I'm going to be doing in the beginning of the year. Also, there is going to be some changes in the house, which I'll talk about more in January, but we're going to be kind of like reorganizing, expanding, moving things around. I'm very excited. So I'm kind of just basically metaphorically throwing everything in a pile and sorting through it. So that's kind of my general goal going into the year. I hope that made any kind of sense. That being said, actually, I did take my first little step into kind of like decluttering my life. That's a good adjective for kind of like what's going on in end of December, early January / all of January, I guess. I just filmed a book unhaul, which also will be going up for Bookmas. And I unhauled like 30 to 40 books, which is something I never thought I was gonna do, which I talk about in that video, so I'm not gonna go over it again. And I did actually create a Pango account. So all of those books are on Pango currently. I'll leave the link for it down below. Go ahead and check those out, see if anything tickles your fancy. I did, for the most part, price everything pretty low. Like the majority of the books are like $3 to $5. Anyway, that is everything that I have for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what are some of your, like a couple of your like must-read books by the end of the year, maybe a couple of your reading goals. I think that's everything that I have to say. I hope you guys have / have had the most amazing of days, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.